Ethan Whitmore had it all. A sprawling coastal mansion, a thriving tech empire, and a wedding set to be the social event of the year. To the outside world, his life was perfect until the day he vanished. No note, no struggle, no trace. But as the clock ticked past the wedding day, one thing became clear. Ethan Whitmore didn't disappear by choice. The day was May 12th. Ethan had scheduled final wedding arrangements with his fiancée, Claire Donovan. When she arrived at his villa, the doors were unlocked. His car was still in the driveway, his phone, wallet, and keys resting neatly on the kitchen counter. But Ethan was gone. The only sign that anything was amiss? A half-drunk glass of whiskey, still sweating on the bar. Claire Donovan's world shattered that morning, or so she told the police. Tear-stained and trembling, her grief seemed genuine at first, but seasoned detective Lisa Monroe couldn't help noticing the small inconsistencies. Claire claimed Ethan called her at midnight. Phone records told another story. The last call placed from Ethan's phone was at 8:34 p.m. Their love story had been sold to the press as a modern fairy tale. The billionaire and the beauty. But behind the glamour, there were cracks. Friends whispered of heated arguments. A confidential source described Ethan's growing doubts about the prenup Claire refused to sign. The deeper Detective Monroe dug, the more one question clawed at her. Was this a runaway groom or a well-crafted murder? A week after his disappearance, cadaver dogs were brought to Ethan's villa. Near the edge of his private dock, the dogs alerted. Divers scoured the rocky seabed, but what they pulled from the water wasn't Ethan's body. It was his laptop, destroyed beyond repair, but with one chilling clue. The hard drive had been wiped clean, just hours before Ethan disappeared. Ethan's disappearance exposed more than his absence. His company was teetering on the edge of bankruptcy, and he had taken out a $10 million life insurance policy, with Claire Donovan listed as the sole beneficiary. A man so careful, so precise, would never leave loose ends, unless someone else planned to tie them up for him. Then came the call. An anonymous voice phoned Detective Monroe, claiming Ethan's disappearance wasn't a mystery at all. It was a hit. The voice whispered one name, Marcus Greer, Ethan's childhood best friend, and the best man at his wedding. Marcus Greer was loyal, or so it seemed, but the investigation uncovered secret transfers, hundreds of thousands of dollars from Ethan's private accounts to an offshore bank, all wired days before his disappearance. The signature? Ethan's, or rather, someone very good at forging it. Surveillance footage near the wire transfer location revealed Marcus, wearing Ethan's clothes, accessing a private bank branch. Ethan's disappearance was starting to look less like an accident and more like premeditated murder. But there was one final twist no one saw coming. 3 weeks later, a fisherman discovered a decomposed body washed ashore. The press declared the case closed. DNA results, however, revealed the body wasn't Ethan's. The real Ethan Whitmore was still out there, dead or alive. That question hung in the air like a guillotine waiting to fall. Detective Monroe traced Ethan's last known GPS data to a stretch of forest, hours from the city. There, hidden beneath the canopy, they found a long-abandoned hunting cabin. Inside, bloodstains, Ethan's watch, a broken engagement ring, and a fingerprint, Marcus Greer's. But the rail break came from an unlikely witness. Ethan's dog, Rex, found alive and dehydrated near the cabin. His fur was soaked in blood, and the lab confirmed the blood matched Ethan's. The noose around Marcus Greer tightened. Marcus's alibi crumbled under interrogation. He confessed to luring Ethan to the cabin under the guise of one last bachelor's weekend. Greed had poisoned their friendship. Marcus planned to kill Ethan, stage a disappearance, and share the life insurance payout with Claire Donovan. Yes, the grieving fiancée had orchestrated it all. Claire's mask of sorrow cracked the moment detectives confronted her with Marcus's confession. Financial records showed months of planning, joint offshore accounts, and even the purchase of murder tools under a fake name. She wasn't a mourning bride-to-be. She was the mastermind. Ethan's body was never recovered, but the mountain of evidence was enough. Claire Donovan and Marcus Greer were charged with conspiracy to commit murder, financial fraud, and obstruction of justice. The jury took only 4 hours to convict. Life sentences were handed down without a flicker of regret from the courtroom. In the end, Ethan Whitmore's disappearance wasn't a mystery. It was a meticulously planned betrayal, born from greed and masked by love. Justice had been slow, but it had finally arrived. And in the world of the rich and the ruthless, trust is the most dangerous currency of all. Claire Donovan's final words before being led out of the courtroom haunted Detective Lisa Monroe. "You'll never understand why I did it," she said, voice trembling but defiant. "I was saving him." Lisa couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to this case. A deeper motive than just money. Investigating Claire's history revealed a tangled web of manipulation and deceit. Raised in a wealthy but emotionally abusive family, Claire had always felt like a pawn. Her father's iron grip on her life had pushed her to seek escape through Ethan. But the wealth, the lifestyle, the power, it wasn't enough. Claire wanted more, and she would stop at nothing to get it. Her engagement to Ethan had been a ticket to everything she had ever dreamed of, and the ultimate betrayal. While incarcerated, Marcus Greer became unexpectedly cooperative. But the confession wasn't about the crime itself. It was about something much darker. "It wasn't supposed to go that far," Marcus said. "We didn't plan for him to fight back. Ethan wasn't supposed to wake up." A chill ran down Lisa's spine. Ethan hadn't been an easy victim. He'd fought. In his final moments, Ethan had shown just how much he valued his life. Marcus described a brutal struggle inside that cabin. Ethan, disoriented but desperate, fought back with everything he had. The bloodstains on the cabin floor weren't just from the dog. They were from Ethan, too. It painted a horrifying picture. Ethan had known he was being betrayed, and he fought for his survival until the bitter end. Lisa dug deeper into the financials. Claire had once made a crucial decision to sign a prenup, and it would have left her with almost nothing if Ethan ever left her. But something about that agreement had changed, and it wasn't until she unearthed a hidden clause that Lisa understood the full extent of Claire's manipulation. The prenup was designed to benefit Claire in case of Ethan's disappearance, not just his death. If he vanished without a trace, Claire would receive everything. A silent, yet chilling admission of what Claire truly wanted. A breakthrough came when Lisa got her hands on the final phone call Ethan made. Not to Claire, but to an old friend named Lucas Shaw. The conversation, recorded just days before his disappearance, was unsettling. Ethan sounded off worried, as if someone was watching him. "I think Claire's hiding something. I don't know if I can trust anyone anymore." The call ended abruptly. Was it the last warning Ethan had given before stepping into the trap? Claire had always wanted more than just Ethan's money. She had wanted control. After digging into her social circle, Lisa discovered a disturbing truth. Claire was involved in an underground network of high society schemers. This wasn't her first attempt at manipulating someone's life for personal gain. Ethan had unknowingly become part of Claire's larger game of power, and when he no longer served that purpose, he was disposed of. Lisa stumbled upon a final, unexpected clue. A document hidden in Ethan's safe, which hadn't been discovered during the initial investigation. It was a journal, a meticulously kept account of his life with Claire. The last entry stood out. "I know she's planning something, but I can't leave her. I can't risk losing everything I've worked for. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just paranoid." It wasn't paranoia. Ethan had known something was off. A chilling discovery surfaced. Claire had used Ethan's trust fund to make large, secret investments under her name. Investments that seemed unrelated but led straight to black market dealings. The evidence pointed to Claire having been involved in money laundering. She wasn't just after Ethan's life. She was using his fortune to cover her criminal empire. The magnitude of her betrayal had grown far beyond what anyone could have imagined. Lisa received an anonymous tip that led her to a previously unknown associate of Marcus Greer's, a man who had worked with both him and Claire on several business ventures. This man, known only as Vincent, had been in the shadows for years, quietly overseeing the operations that funded Claire's lavish lifestyle. Vincent's statement was chilling. "I didn't think Ethan would get in the way, but when Claire told me about her plans, I didn't think she'd go through with it. A breakthrough came when a local surveillance camera caught something chilling. Ethan, disheveled and panicked, running from his own home on the night of his disappearance. His face was a mask of fear, eyes darting around as if searching for something or someone. Ethan had been running for his life, and Claire had been the one chasing him. As Lisa pieced together the timeline, it became clear. Ethan had planned to confront Claire. He had left clues behind, hoping someone would find the truth. The confrontation, however, had never happened. Claire had set the perfect trap. The night Ethan was supposed to meet her, she had arranged for Marcus to intercept him first, knocking him out and staging the entire escape. Before her arrest, Claire attempted to flee, but she was caught at a private airport attempting to board a jet. The media had followed her every move, turning her into the face of a tragedy. But she wasn't the innocent bride. She was the orchestrator. Claire's escape plan was a final act of defiance, one last desperate attempt to control the narrative. In a tense courtroom scene, Claire faced Ethan's family, the people she had tried to manipulate and erase from the story. She finally admitted to her crimes, but only after being confronted by Lisa Monroe. The detective's quiet fury rang through the courtroom as she laid bare the full extent of Claire's deception. "I knew," Lisa said. "I knew the whole time that Ethan never stood a chance." The trial was long, but the verdict was swift. Claire Donovan and Marcus Greer were convicted, and the final sentence came down hard. Ethan's life had been stolen from him by those closest to him, but in the end, justice was served. Ethan's body was never recovered, but his legacy lived on. His name was cleared, his fortune rightfully inherited by his family, and the dark truth about his life was exposed for all to see. And Claire Donovan? She spent the rest of her life behind bars, her dreams of power shattered, her soul consumed by guilt and greed. Just when the case seemed closed, a new figure emerged, a reclusive groundskeeper named Hector Ruiz. He worked at Ethan's lakeside property, lived off-grid, and rarely spoke to anyone. One day, he showed up at the police station with a crumpled notebook and a trembling voice. "I saw something. The night Ethan disappeared." Hector's notebook revealed an eerie entry. "She arrived at midnight." He was yelling, then silence. Then she left, alone. He had watched from the woods as Claire dragged a suitcase to her car, too heavy to be just clothes. The timestamp matched the night Ethan vanished. Was that when she disposed of his body? Using satellite imagery and toll booth records, Lisa tracked Claire's midnight drive. She had driven to a remote part of Black Hollow National Forest, notorious for its sinkholes and abandoned mines. Forensic teams scoured the terrain. Dogs picked up faint traces of decomposition, but no body. Still, it was enough to reopen the case. A breakthrough came when a park ranger found something glinting in the mud near a collapsed mineshaft. Ethan's custom engagement ring, engraved with Claire's name and the words, "Forever starts now." Claire had discarded it like trash. But to Lisa it was a message, a cruel irony. Inside prison, Claire had made enemies. One inmate serving time for fraud came forward. Claire had confided in her during late-night panic attacks. She said she watched him beg, said she wanted to see fear in his eyes before he disappeared forever. The horror wasn't just in the act, it was in her enjoyment of it. Ethan's estate became a legal battlefield. Claire's family fought to keep the wealth she had secured. But Lisa and prosecutors uncovered falsified documents, doctored signatures, and bribes to offshore bankers. This wasn't just murder. It was organized financial annihilation, decades in the making. In a hidden offshore bank in the Cayman Islands, investigators found an account opened under Ethan's name, but with Claire's digital fingerprints. She had siphoned millions layer by layer, laundering it through shell companies tied to luxury art and cryptocurrency. Ethan's wealth was her weapon, and his curse. Rumors swirled about Ethan having a mistress. A journalist uncovered an encrypted email thread with someone named Jay. Their last exchange was chilling. "She's going to kill me if she finds out. I'm leaving her." But who was Jay? And where was she now? Lisa tracked Jay to a private therapist named Juliana Voss, Ethan's former counselor. What began as therapy had turned into something more intimate. Juliana confessed. He was terrified of Claire. He told me he'd seen her threaten someone before. Said she wore two faces. Juliana revealed Ethan had once discovered Claire drugging a former boyfriend. He hadn't gone to police. Afraid of scandal, afraid no one would believe him. That man? He died a year later. Ruled an overdose. But Ethan had always doubted it. Now Lisa did too. In a final search of the cabin property, cadaver dogs unearthed something near a collapsed retaining wall. Ethan's second phone. The one no one knew about. It was waterlogged but salvageable. His last video? A blurry, frantic message. If I don't make it out, Claire did this. Lisa presented the footage to Claire during a follow-up interview. For the first time, her mask cracked. She smiled, not with joy, but with the cold, detached satisfaction of someone who believed she had won. I told him not to record anything. The irony? That video sealed her fate. Based on the new evidence, prosecutors reopened the murder charge. Claire's previous conviction for fraud was replaced with first-degree murder. No more minimum security prison. She was transferred to a high-security facility. Stripped of her influence, her vanity, and her voice, the justice system had caught up. Though his body was never found, Ethan's truth lived on. His family created the Ethan Ashford Foundation to support victims of financial abuse and coercive relationships. And every year, on the date he vanished, Lisa places a single white rose at the gate of the lake house. A silent tribute to a man who tried to escape too late. While cataloging Ethan's personal belongings, Lisa discovered a dusty music box tucked behind old books in his study. Inside, a folded piece of parchment. A hand-drawn map with an X marked near a secluded part of his property. Why would Ethan hide a map? What was he trying to reveal or bury? Following the coordinates, a forensic team dug through layers of soil under a thick canopy of pine trees. Then fabric, a monogrammed cuff, a bone. The grave had been shallow, disturbed by rainfall. DNA confirmed the worst. It was Ethan. Claire hadn't gotten rid of the body. She had hidden it in his own backyard. The discovery made national headlines. Millionaire groom found dead in own estate. News vans lined the street. True crime podcasters spun theories. But for Lisa, it wasn't about fame, it was about vindication. The man they'd all questioned, even suspected, had finally been given a voice. Ethan's parents, Margaret and Charles Ashford, hadn't spoken publicly in months. When they did, it was devastating. He was a kind soul, too trusting. His mother sobbed. She prayed on that. They held a memorial for Ethan, this time with a casket. This time, they had something to bury. Juliana Voss's story about Claire's former boyfriend, the one who overdosed, reopened another file long buried. Brandon Marks died in 2019, found with sedatives in his bloodstream. At the time, it was ruled accidental. But new toxicology reports revealed something far more sinister. The same rare compound found on Ethan's clothing. Claire had done this before. Lisa discovered two more men, both romantically linked to Claire, both victims of unexplained financial collapses or suspicious deaths. One drowned in a boating accident. Another died in a house fire. Claire had conveniently escaped. A chilling pattern emerged. Seduce, control, eliminate. A criminal psychologist constructed a profile of Claire. High-functioning sociopath. Grandiose delusions. Deep-seated narcissism. She didn't kill for pleasure. She killed for power, for dominance, for the thrill of controlling a narrative so tightly that not even truth could escape it. In a letter Claire wrote but never sent, she detailed her twisted reasoning. He lied to me. He was going to leave. He didn't deserve the empire I built with him. So I took it all back. In her eyes, Ethan's murder wasn't betrayal. It was justice. Her version of it. With Ethan's remains recovered and Claire's past exposed, she was brought to trial once again. This time for first-degree murder, conspiracy, and obstruction of justice. Juliana Voss testified. So did Hector. So did Ethan's parents. Lisa sat in the front row, jaw clenched, heart heavy. As the verdict was read, Guilty on all counts, Claire remained silent. But when the judge sentenced her to life without parole, something cracked. She screamed, not in grief but in rage. "He chose her over me," she yelled. "I made him." Her final mask shattered in front of a silent courtroom. Marcus Greer, now in solitary, agreed to testify in another upcoming case in exchange for reduced conditions. His testimony revealed even more. Claire had bribed doctors, paid off lawyers, even manipulated her own psychiatric evaluations. She wasn't insane. She was methodical, calculating, and dangerous. Claire tried to sell her story to a publisher, a tell-all memoir from behind bars. But public backlash shut it down. No one wanted to hear her side. Not anymore. The world had heard enough of her lies. Lisa Monroe retired 6 months after Claire's final sentencing. She moved to a quiet town by the coast, carrying with her a box labeled Ashford. When asked what case haunted her the most, she simply said, "The one where love was just another trap." Ethan Ashford's story lives on, in whispers, in podcasts, in the minds of those who loved him. A young man who believed in forever, destroyed by the one person he trusted most. But justice, like the truth, has a way of clawing back to the surface. And in the end, Ethan's voice, silenced for so long, echoed louder than Claire ever imagined. Justice had not just been served, it had been earned. Months after Claire's sentencing, a prison guard smuggled out a series of voice recordings, taped conversations between Claire and another inmate. In them, Claire admitted she had practiced Ethan's murder for years, even rehearsed it with dummies, planned her escape routes, studied poisons. It was never impulsive. It was ritual. One of Claire's original defense attorneys, Jacob Fielding, vanished shortly after her conviction. His office was ransacked, his laptop wiped. Lisa came out of retirement to assist the investigation. What she found chilled her. Jacob had been preparing to turn against Claire until he vanished without a trace. Back at Ethan's estate, contractors demolishing the guest house uncovered a floor safe welded under concrete. Inside, USB drives, handwritten letters, and a video diary. It was Ethan, detailing everything. How Claire manipulated him. How he feared she'd kill him. How he set up the backup plan in case he didn't survive. Among Ethan's files was a prenup addendum he'd drafted the night before his disappearance. One Claire never signed. It stated, "In the event of my sudden death, all assets go into a trust inaccessible to Claire Devereaux." She'd found the draft, and that, Lisa believed, was the final trigger. A conspiracy theory spread online. That Claire had a twin, someone helping her cover tracks, fake alibis, confuse witnesses. It seemed absurd, until a birth certificate surfaced from France. A twin sister, Camille Devereaux. But Camille had died in a car crash at 17. Or so the report said. The video diary Ethan recorded was extensive. In one entry, he described following Claire during a trip to New Orleans. She met a woman who looked exactly like her. They spoke in French. I swear it was her double. Was Camille alive? Had she helped with the cover-up? Interpol confirmed an active passport under Camille's name, renewed 5 years ago in Nice. A woman matching her description had been living in Paris, under a new identity. Lisa flew there herself. When she knocked on the apartment door, no one answered. But inside, someone watched through a peephole. Using a sting operation, French authorities traced the woman to a hotel in Lyon. DNA confirmed it. Camille Devereaux had faked her death. She had helped Claire cover up the murder, and had even impersonated her in key moments. It was the ultimate misdirection. Camille, in custody, confessed to aiding Claire. Her voice cracked as she spoke. She said Ethan was going to ruin us. I believed her. She'd driven the suitcase. She'd thrown off police. And she'd watched as Claire unraveled, and took Ethan with her. With Camille's testimony, Claire's sentence was upgraded to double life. Camille received 30 years for conspiracy and accessory to murder. Their trial was televised, sisters, once inseparable, now glaring at each other in chains. Ethan's family watched. They didn't cheer. They cried. A ghostwriter hired to help Claire write her story came forward with a chilling draft. In one chapter, Claire had written, "I didn't just kill him, I rewrote him. I rewrote the way he'd be remembered." She had wanted to erase his truth with her fiction. The Ethan Ashford Foundation took on its first major case, a woman in Texas whose fiancé vanished under suspiciously similar circumstances. As Lisa reviewed the file, she whispered, "It's happening again. Claire and Camille might be behind bars." But the pattern lived on. Ethan's estate, rebuilt from legal ruins, was converted into a center for victims of emotional manipulation and financial control. Each room preserved parts of Ethan's story: his journals, his art, his fears, his strength, and a plaque at the front gate reads, "He believed in love. They made that a weapon. We made it a shield." One last letter arrived at Lisa's coastal home. No return address. Just 4 words, handwritten in crimson ink. "The story isn't over." Was it from Camille, a copycat, or Claire, still trying to control the narrative from her cell? Lisa placed it in a sealed envelope. The case may be closed, but the shadow it cast will never fully disappear. When Lisa returned to the Ashford estate for a final walkthrough, something gnawed at her. A drawer in Ethan's antique desk had never been opened, the key long lost. She had it forced open. Inside, a black journal. The pages were filled with Ethan's handwriting. But one phrase was repeated over and over: "She knows I know." Tucked into the journal was an envelope, sealed with red wax and tied with ribbon. It was addressed to Ethan's best man, Spencer. Inside was a letter that began, "If you're reading this, I didn't make it. Don't trust the silence. It's where she hides the loudest things." Spencer had been quiet throughout the investigation. Too quiet. He now confessed that Ethan had called him 2 nights before his disappearance. Frantic, begging to meet. Spencer didn't go. He dismissed it as cold feet. His voice cracked during the interview. "I didn't answer, and now I can't forget the sound of him needing me." An audio file was recovered from Ethan's backup cloud account. Claire's voice, calm, sharp, focused. "You always knew I could kill you. You just didn't think I would. That's your real flaw, Ethan. You mistake warning signs for love." An artist unveiled a sculpture inspired by the Ashford case. It featured Claire's likeness, but with Ethan's face sculpted beneath, twisted in agony. It wasn't just art. It was evidence. The artist admitted Claire had commissioned it before Ethan disappeared. Months before, 3 years into her sentence, Camille attempted to escape during a prison transfer. She had smuggled in contacts, forged keys, and paid a guard. She failed. But the attempt reminded everyone, this story was never safely tucked away. The danger was still breathing. Lisa released a statement to the media. "There are others like her. People who hide their malice behind charm, who erase people like striking out lines on a script. If you ever feel watched, you probably are." A Swiss account under Ethan's name was unfrozen after years of probate delays. Inside, a single transaction, a transfer to an unknown entity days before he vanished. The name on the recipient account, Eleanor Devereaux, another sister, or Claire under another alias. A deed surfaced. Ethan had purchased property on an island in the Mediterranean just weeks before his murder. His plan, according to one voicemail, was to move there after the wedding and disappear from the spotlight. He wanted peace. Instead, it became the location of his final unsent letters, buried in a waterproof tin under a fig tree. One of the letters described a book Ethan was writing, a novel based on Claire. He called it The Smile with No Soul, but the manuscript was found burned. Every page, destroyed. Claire didn't just want to kill him. She wanted to erase his voice. Spencer, haunted by guilt, checked himself into a psychiatric facility. In his final interview before going dark, he said, "I don't dream about Ethan dying. I dream about Claire smiling." Another millionaire vanished under similar circumstances in Australia, with a fiancé who once lived in Paris under a false name. Interpol reached out to Lisa. The woman's mugshot? A dead ringer for Camille? Or was it Claire again? In prison, Claire was allowed a mirror. She would stare for hours. One day, she whispered to the guard, "Do you see her too? The one behind my eyes." The guard shivered. Claire had split herself from the beginning. A monster hiding inside the woman Ethan loved. Claire died in prison, not from violence, but a slow-growing tumor in her brain. In her final moments, she muttered, "Did he forgive me?" No one knows. But on her prison wall, scratched with fingernails, were the words, "He never stopped watching." And somewhere in the Ashford estate, the wind still pushes open that drawer, the one Claire never found. Because in the end, truth outlives evil. Justice may come late, but it always comes. During Camille's final hearing, a retired FBI analyst sitting in the gallery heard something chilling. As Camille was led past him, she whispered, "It wasn't just Ethan. He was number 5. Lisa dug into Camille and Claire's past. Across Europe and the US, 5 men, all wealthy, all romantically involved with charming sisters, had vanished. Ethan wasn't the beginning. He was the end of a pattern no one had dared to connect. Until now, an ex-therapist who treated Claire as a teen came forward. Her notes revealed a disturbing truth. Claire suffered from a personality disorder so severe it bordered on sociopathy. She viewed love as ownership, pain as intimacy, and she once said at 17, "One day I'll find someone rich and ruin him. That'll be my art." A storage unit in Spain linked to Camille contained a hidden collector's room. Portraits of all 5 victims, personal belongings, locks of hair, even watches, all stopped at the exact time of death. Ethan's was front and center. New evidence suggested Camille had manipulated Claire more than anyone realized. While Claire killed, Camille cleaned, covered, escaped. Camille had recruited Claire, not the other way around. Claire was the weapon. Camille was the hand behind it. Interpol discovered a dark web auction site, stolen identities, offshore accounts, and something else, death commissions. Photos of the deceased were sold to anonymous buyers. Camille had sold Ethan's image for a price so high, someone paid to own his death. Lisa began receiving anonymous postcards. Each showed a photo of a woman with different hair, in a different city, always looking over her shoulder. On the back, "I taught them everything. A third sister, or someone darker." Camille offered a deal, full disclosure in exchange for protection. In her interview, she said, "I was never the mastermind. I was the survivor. The real monster wore a badge." Lisa uncovered that the original Parisian detective who ruled Camille's death an accident was later convicted for bribery. He'd faked Camille's autopsy, hidden records, and had ties to a woman named Margot Delacourt, a former intelligence agent turned black market fixer. Margot had vanished in 2009, presumed dead, but recent footage showed her in Istanbul, using the alias Eleanor. She was Claire and Camille's biological aunt, a ghost who trained them in psychological warfare, identity theft, and manipulation. Ethan's mother, now in her 80s, revealed a long-buried secret. Claire once visited her alone, before the engagement. She'd tried to get her blessing, but Mrs. Ashford said something now unforgettable. Her eyes were kind, but her smile didn't move. That's when I knew. She was empty. The Ashford estate, now a center for victim advocacy, was set on fire. No one was hurt, but the firestarter left a message on the wall, written in blood-red spray paint. "He still watches, and now I watch back." The investigation traced the message to a dormant system hack, originating from inside a federal database. Someone was erasing evidence, deleting records, scrubbing the Devereaux sisters' trail. Only one person could still do that: Margot. Interpol launched a global manhunt for Margot. Lisa joined as a civilian advisor. The final lead came from an anonymous source, a note that simply read, "She returns to where it started." They found her in a cemetery in Nice, waiting. Lisa confronted Margot. No backup, no wires, just truth. Margot, calm as ever, said, "I didn't kill Ethan. I just taught the ones who could." Lisa responded, "And now you'll finally pay for all of them." Margot had documented everything, from her training of Claire and Camille to the network of enablers who protected them. She handed it over on one condition: bury her name with her death. She died in custody 3 weeks later. The tapes sparked a wave of arrests: corrupt officials, underground buyers, identity brokers. The world saw the shadows behind Ethan's death, and the thousands who'd helped keep it dark. The Ashford case was now a global scandal. A national museum unveiled a portrait: Ethan, painted from memory by his grieving mother, standing tall with storm clouds parting behind him. The plaque read, "He fell for love, but love didn't kill him. Monsters did. We caught them." On the anniversary of his death, thousands gathered at the Ashford estate, now rebuilt. They lit candles, spoke names, told stories. Justice had come, not just in courtrooms, but in hearts. Lisa sat alone at Ethan's grave. She whispered, "They can't hurt you anymore." As she left, the wind rustled the grass. One single red ribbon, Claire's calling card, blew out from the earth and vanished into the sky. Justice was done. But the warning remained: evil can wear silk and smile. Stay tuned for more chilling cases on Cold Case Chronicles, where the truth is always darker than fiction. If you haven't already, make sure you're subscribed to Cold Case Chronicles. We dive deeper into the most chilling, unsolved mysteries, and together, we uncover what was left behind. Like, share, and leave a comment below. We want to hear your thoughts. Stay vigilant. Stay curious. The truth never rests.